Hello, everybody, and welcome inside CFP Today, as always brought to you by Fox 40. Start your season off right, or maybe end it if you're a CFL team or a U Sports team, with products from our partners at Fox 40. Outfit your coaching staff with custom logoed Fox 40 whistles, gear, coaching boards, and more. Visit fox40shop.com. Use the code CFP15 at checkout. Get 15% off of your entire order. Thanks so much for listening along. CFP Today. This is for Tuesday, October 29th. Article came out yesterday that I wrote on CFL.ca about who has the advantage positionally. Man, this article loves to piss people off. And honestly, if anybody really gets that upset about it, what are you doing? But I've gotten tweets from people saying, "Oh, I guess you guys can't give Chad Kelly any love, huh? Yeah, there's a company directive to try and make sure that Chad Kelly gets hated, and everybody's against Chad Kelly." And this is the same thing that people said about Montreal the last couple of years. It's amazing how short people's memory is. If you don't win your division, and if people are doubting you because there are holes in your resume, which, to be fair, CFL teams, I would say there is nothing perfect about any CFL club. There's nothing perfect about any quarterback in the CFL. Everybody has their pros and cons and deficiencies and things that we can nitpick, and that's what's supposed to make it fun. So I gave Ottawa the advantage when it comes to quarterbacks. And I totally understand the argument on the opposite side, which is, well, Ottawa really hasn't played all that well, and Drew Brown hasn't really looked all that good as of late, and Jeremiah Masoli doesn't really inspire confidence. But I've got people sending me tweets and whatnot saying Chad Kelly's the best quarterback in the CFL, bar none. His top end certainly is. His bottom end is far from being the best quarterback in the Canadian Football League. He is sporadic, and I believe that he has the ability to, through 3 football games, Eastern Semi, Eastern Final, Grey Cup, he can win the damn Grey Cup. Like, he could be the MVP of the Grey Cup. But, as we saw from Chad Kelly, who I will remind you was 0-1 career in CFL playoff games, which is the Eastern Final last year against Montreal at home, where he played terribly. If you are going to win CFL playoff football games against defensive coordinators who have, for most quarterbacks, 2/3 of a season, maybe a full season. For Chad, less than half. Like right around half, I believe, in terms of the number of games that he's played now that he's been back since that 9-game suspension to start the year. They got a little film on you, and they already understand what Chad Kelly's all about. Now comes the true challenge of whether it is Baron Miles of the Ottawa Redblacks, who obviously couldn't do much to stop Chad when they played in Week 20, but I also feel that's recency bias because every single CFL game can be completely different. Again, I don't know why people decide to forget the fact that in the CFL, things can be very random. We've seen this in the past. I mean, Hamilton only won how many games this year? They won 3 against Toronto. Go ahead and explain that. Well, Bo Levi just had their number. Sure, whatever you want to say. It's like these matchups, these individual games, they matter. The schemes, they matter. Like, there's so many variables to this. So I take Ottawa as having the advantage at quarterback, and here's the reason. More often than not, again, as somebody who tracks every snap of every game from every year, more often than not, the boring quarterback wins. The CFL, something that I have frustration with, offensively favors the checkdown, the crosser, the playing for field position, the making sure you make good defensive decisions and not taking penalties, not giving up free yardage, and all of those things play into the outcomes of games. Chad really just doesn't care about those things, which I like about him. He likes to sling it. His depth of target is significantly deeper, but Chad is as likely to throw the game to the other team as he is to dominate for his own team. And that's why I went with Ottawa as having the upper hand in that quarterback battle. The other side of this is Drew Brown. If you look at his actual season splits and game-by-game breakdown, up until Labor Day, he had 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. They weren't finishing in the score zone. They were getting down there a ton. It's why Lewis Ward led the Canadian Football League and made field goals throughout the season. But he has the ability to move the ball. He's had, I believe, 2 400-yard passing games. One of them, obviously, was in garbage time. It was against the Toronto Argonauts when they came back in that second half in Week 20. But Drew Brown is Trevor Harris-like in his ability to dink, dunk, make a throw here and a throw there. And more than anything else, what makes me think that Drew Brown is ready to get back to where he was in the first half of the season when they were winning games at home, they were beating teams from the West, home and away. he's so calm. He's so relaxed, and I believe that that's the type of demeanor that typically the CFL games will lend you towards. As I say, Chad Kelly, it can be a very passionate, high-paced, intense experience when he's your quarterback. I get that becomes addictive for people who like that kind of football, and I certainly enjoy that over watching two guys with an average depth of target of 5 yards and a team unable to run the football, and all of a sudden you got 20 punts in a game. But I think Drew Brown's demeanor is what gives me the belief that he might have a smoother experience. It might not be a better experience, but it should be a smoother one, I would think, in the semifinal. I got a feeling Wynton McManus probably has something to say about that, though, for the Toronto Argonauts defensively. But for anybody who got super angry about the fact that I didn't pick Chad Kelly and he's the greatest quarterback of all time, it's not just the arm. Because the arm, Chad has the best arm in the Canadian Football League. He can throw it through a brick wall. It's not really what playoff football is about. And so I think it comes down to much more than that. How it will shake out and who will actually make the plays that change the game remains to be seen. But that's the fun of playoff football. So a little bit of background there on the article I wrote. If you want to go read it yourself, CFL.ca is where you can find it, of course, and have more analysis for you coming up throughout the week leading into the Eastern semifinal. Western semifinal as well will be the BC Lions on the road in Saskatchewan. I'm interested to see what the crowd looks like at Mosaic. It's been a little underwhelming, to say the least, from the last couple of games that I've seen on television. Those green seats are doing some favors. So whether or not they're able to get enough people into the stands to really use the energy that should be at Mosaic for a home playoff game, we will see how that turns out as well. Have another breakdown of that Western semifinal coming up for you. Thanks to Fox 40, as always, for supporting everything around here with Canadian football perspective. And coming up tomorrow, we're going to be breaking down all things around that Western semifinal, including pretty crazy special teams matchup. Maybe I'll just talk about all the kickers tomorrow. Maybe that'll be tomorrow. We'll do that on CFP Today. Thanks for listening, everybody.